Alex, we just washed this car
We did.
and it looks clean.
Yeah?
I want you to touch the paint. Does it feel clean to you?
Well, let me take my bracelets off.
Take your bracelets off,
before
yeah.
anything is to happen to
That's
the
right.
car.
They'll scream and yell at you on YouTube because you wore bracelets, but touch
Yeah,
that
I'm
paint.
gonna do it anyway.
It feels smooth. It feels clean, right?
Well, yeah, we spent like 10 minutes cleaning it. Yes, it feels
Right.
smooth.
So basically what we did is we rinsed it down, we used the car
Yeah.
soap, and most people would say, my car is clean. I want you to put your hand inside this bag
Right.
and then slide it across the paint and tell me what you feel. Totally different, right? It's actually freaky.
Yeah, it's very bumpy.
Feels like sandpaper. You feel all those bumps.
Wow. So this really amplifies it.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it makes a lot of difference.
Every time I
Yeah.
I have my clients put their hand in this bag and touch their paint, they go, what is that on the paint?
Wow. So this is a way to test it.
It's a simple way to test it. As a professional, I can almost feel it without putting my hand in the bag, but for somebody who hasn't done it before, the baggie test is great to show.
The baggie test.
That's what it's called. It's called the baggie test.
I like it. So does everybody know this? Is that always like
There's
a
a lot of
secret of yours?
No, it's not a secret of mine. There's a lot of people that know that, and as professionals, this is how we teach people. We tell them to put their hand in the bag so they get an idea of what we're going to do to remove that.
Uh-huh.
The next thing I'm going to show you is this silly stuff. What do you think this looks like?
Well, it's clay.
Why do you smell it? You smell everything. What is it? What does it smell like to you?
But it doesn't smell like anything. I thought it
What
would,
does it smell
I
like?
thought it would smell like clay as well. But no, this is like, what you give kids to play with.
Like silly putty or clay.
Yeah.
Okay. What you were feeling?
Is it? Or is it
No,
not?
it's a clay bar. It's a automotive clay bar. It's a form of abrasive. It's going to pull off that stuff that you were feeling when your
But
hand
this
was.
it's not something you can get like at Michael's or something. This is an actual.
Yeah.
It's sort of just like clay. We used to play with that.
Automotive clay, you can find this at Walmart, you can find it at parts stores and all that good stuff, but no, I think if you use clay from an art store or a children's store, it's not going to work. But when you were touching that stuff and it felt rough when you had your hand on the bag, what do you think that is?
I would imagine dust particles, metals from the air, stuff like that, from the pollution, because we all know that there is a lot of stuff in the air that you can see. I would
Right.
say metal, dust, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are floating around, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We live on a polluted planet, right?
Uh-huh.
So what happens is, even though we wash the car, we dry it, this stuff can still be on the paint, and it will be there permanently until we remove it. What my industry calls it, it's a fancy word, industrial fallout. It's just pollutants floating around. The other thing too is when you hit the brakes on your car, you've got that metal to metal contact between the brake rotor and the pad. That brake dust will kick out and also stick to the paint. So it's the paint is subjected to so much stuff, not just dust and dirt and sunlight. There's a lot of stuff sticking
I hear
to it.
you. So just because it looks clean doesn't mean it's clean.
Right.
It's actually very filthy.
Right. Right.
Dirty car.
It's a
And
dirty
now we're
car.
gonna use this.
Right. This is a truck I should be taking care of more often, and it's absolutely filthy from a clay bar perspective.
Alright, so how do we do it? How do we use it?
We need to use a lubricant because if you tried to glide this across the paint right now, forget it. It will just stick. This is a clay lube. This is a kit by Mothers. It comes like this at Walmart. You get the clay bar, you get the clay lube. Whenever we use the clay bar on the paint, we want to make sure there's plenty of lubrication on the paint.
Right.
All right, because if you don't, this stuff is going to scratch and mar the paint to begin with, but we want to put some.
Oh, so you can actually not only you're not gonna clean, but you can damage the. I don't know. Can you really damage if you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can scratch and mar the paint. I would consider that damage. It doesn't mean it's permanent though, because I can polish it off.
Okay.
But we try, we don't want to damage the paint too much or create scratches and swirls.
Never use this without lubrication.
Without lubrication.
Got it.
It's kind of like shaving. You shave your legs, I shave my face. Without shaving cream, it would be miserable. So what I'm
Okay.
going to do, I'm going to show you how this works. You can use this clay bar on paint. You can use it on glass. You can use it on this chrome
Okay.
strip. I don't use it on plastic. On plastic, even with a lot of lubrication, especially if the plastic is porous, forget it. You'll leave chunks of this stuff all over
So
the place.
glass also gets.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's stuff stuck to this glass as well. There's contaminants on this glass. What I'll actually do is I'll spray it on the glass and let you glide it across the surface with, yep,
Alright.
just keep it flat like a pancake.
Circular or up and down? How do you
I
do
like
that?
to go, I like to go left and right.
Did you say something about the direction of the wind before? Do we follow that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So when you
Boom, boom.
can you feel anything under that clay bar a little bit? Does it feel a little rough?
I cannot.
Okay, all right.
That doesn't mean it's.
All right, get off the glass. Let's go to where you felt the contaminants on the paint. Go ahead and rub it in that small area and see if you can feel those tiny bumps.
Now, this actually got a little dirty.
It does.
So, do we use the, do you remember how we were using mitts?
Right,
And,
wash mitts?
Yeah, right. So, you couldn't use the same over and over. How about the clay? Can we just.
You're okay there. You don't have enough contamination sticking to the paint, but you can see that contamination, right? You see
Yeah,
those little
yeah,
black
yeah.
dots? That's the stuff that came off the glass
Wow.
that didn't come off when we washed the car.
Wow, okay.
That's scary, right?
I know. So, all right.
Keep it flat on the paint.
I
You don't
use the
you don't want to
different side.
scrub with it. Just lightly
Yeah,
go
yeah,
over
yeah,
it briskly.
I barely touch it.
Stay in the area that we have lubricated.
Ooh, sprayed my hand.
That's all right. So go back and forth. Can you feel those bumps that you could feel?
A little bit.
A
yeah.
little bit? So basically what we want to do, and I'll do it here with you, I'll get this a little bit.
Wow. So, I mean, do we use this one little piece to play the entire car by hand like this? Is that what
You may
do?
need to, break yourself off another piece and get to a new fresh piece. But
And, I mean, do we clean it off like in water or in the? How do
no,
you-
once the clay bar becomes contaminated, it's got all those bonded contaminants in it, and we kind of knead it over, and we can never get a clean spot. The clay bar is no good.
Okay. So how do I know? I mean, with this piece, like, how much is that enough for? Half of the car?
Depending on how
several?
bad the car is contaminated. Some cars are heavily contaminated, some cars are lightly contaminated.
So
We
you
just
can
kind of keep having to look at the surface of the clay bar. And if it gets heavily contaminated, you kind of knead it into itself and create a new piece
Okay.
for yourself. But
Alright.
when you were claying, you were kind of going a little slow. I actually want you to go faster, not a lot of pressure. I'll get this thing into a flat piece. This is the way I would play. I'm not applying a lot of pressure, just enough pressure to be able to keep the clay bar against the paint
Alright.
and briskly go back and forth until I feel there's no resistance.
Let me do that.
And I know I picked up the I picked up the
let's,
contaminants. I'll get this wet for you.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. You always want to go in a circular motion.
Yeah. Sometimes
Try to keep straight lines.
I know. I tend to do that for some
That's
reason.
fine.
It's just like a
No,
Wait,
there's no clip.
wait,
More loop here.
Ah!
Go ahead. Go.
Just trying not to go on the dry.
Yeah, you don't want to go where we didn't spray the lubricant. Can you feel any resistance anymore under that clay bar?
No, less and less.
The minute you don't feel resistance anymore, you pull those contaminants off, you're free to move somewhere else. There's no reason to hang out there anymore.
Well, I don't know. Let me do it one more time, maybe,
All right, you want to try it one more time, get a hang of it?
just to make sure it's.
Just to make sure.
You know,
But basically what's going to happen, if the car was heavily contaminated, there was contamination on it, you would feel resistance, slight resistance, almost like gliding this across an unsmooth surface. Then all of a sudden you'll pull those contaminants off and they'll stick on the clay bar, right? Now all of a sudden it will get slick as can be. Go ahead.
Yep. Is this okay?
That's fine. You don't feel any resistance or anything like that? Then you're done. You've picked up all the contaminants.
Well, shall we give it a test with the
The baggie test?
baggie test?
We'll
Yeah.
do the baggie test. It's a great idea. Let me rinse that off.
So how do we? Just rinse it with water.
I rinse it with water. You can dry it with the towel, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Now I'll put that same baggie in your hand and I want you to glide it across. Actually, let me dry that off so the water doesn't deceive you a little bit. I want you to touch the same area of the paint that you did before.
Okay. So this is dry.
That's dry, so there's no water there to deceive you.
Okay.
And tell me if you can feel a difference.
You know, it's much better.
You think you still feel something?
Maybe I'm now hypersensitive about
Yeah.
it, but I feel that we could do even a better job if
Okay.
we went like
Maybe
maybe
because
another,
when you did it, you didn't do it well.
seems like it, right? So I'm trying to be.
All right,
What do you
I think what you're feeling
Uh-huh.
is the bag is now kind of grabbing the paint. There's an area here where there are contaminations. I'll agree with you, but overall we got a lot of it off. But
Well,
that's
I even think it kind of almost looks more reflective right now.
yeah, it's a good point, because
Like very,
those bonded contaminants can actually play a trick with our eye. The way sunlight works, sunlight wants to hit this panel, right? And if we've got those contaminants that we necessarily can't see with our eyes, natural light will hit it and kind of deflect it in all weird angles. So
yeah,
our
so
eye,
like, you know, if you compare,
okay,
because we didn't do anything here.
right?
Yeah, this.
You're right. There's a big difference in this. My God, my truck is horrible. It's dirty. But there is a big difference in
Yes.
shining gloss
Yeah.
between the two panels. That's
Yeah.
claying. Isn't that pretty cool?
Very cool.
It's not children's clay. It's got a purpose to get those bonded
And
contaminants
this is, I
off.
think, what this is the step 4 in our
Yeah.
cleaning of the vehicle. After that, it's only polishing with the.
Right. We would use this anytime there's bonded contamination on the paint. We don't do this all the time. Now that we've got this area clean, contaminants aren't going to come back tomorrow that heavy, right? So we just have to watch it over a period of time. Here in Dallas, maybe once or twice a year is all that's needed.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Okay, well then it's worth it, and like, you know, to play the whole entire car by hand
Right.
with something as small as this, if we had to do it often.
I can
that's a lot of
I
work.
can show you a faster process. We can do it by machine, but I want you to learn this one first. This is much more gentler
Yeah.
to the paint, but we'll get into those advanced moves in the future. But
More
that,
effective.
they're
Than the
both
machine.
effective. This one's a little bit more forgiving. It's not as aggressive than a clay disc attached to a DA. A lot of people ask me, do I have to polish after because this will scratch and mar
Yeah.
the paint? That's up to you. Some people are very hypersensitive. They'll polish afterwards to remove the marring. On white paint, we're not going to see the marring that took place when we used this.
All right.
Sound pretty cool?
Yes,
But
very.
that's the claying process. So I thought I'd bring you in on that, and love you guys. Hopefully that helps you out.